Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Ketubot. We are up to Perek Yud Gimel Mishnah Dalid. Today's Mishnah should be Le'elu Nishmat Neria ben Svetlana Ranbai Eliyahu ben Burchai Israel ben Chana bat Miriam Menuchatam beGan Eden Amen and Avdi ben Chaim leChaim v'Refuah Shenemav Daniel Shalom ben Rosa betoch Shah Cholei Israel. Admon's second ruling is based on the following law. When one person claims that another owes him a certain amount of money or goods and the defendant admits that he owes part of that amount, he must pay that part and take an oath denying that he owes the rest. This is the oath of a modeh b'miktzat, one who admits part of a claim. When one person makes a claim against another and the defendant denies the claim completely, there is no need for him to take an oath to support his denial. However, when he does not completely reject the claim but admits to owing part of it, he gives some support to the claim as a whole. The claimant can therefore require the defendant to swear that he does not owe the rest. If the defendant does not want to swear, he must pay the entire amount, as the Gemara discusses on page 18a in Masechet Ketubot. However, if the claim was for one type of property, for example wheat, and the defendant denies owing that type but admits to owing another type, for example barley, he does not have to take an oath, as it says in Masechet Shvuot, chapter 6, Mishnah 3. Our Mishnah begins at Toenet Chavero Kadeshemen. If one person claims another owes him jugs of oil, for example, he says to him, "You owe me 10 jugs of oil." Vodab Bakankanim, and the other denies that he owes any oil but admits to owing 10 empty jugs. Admon says, since he admitted to part of the claim, namely the jugs, he must swear that he does not owe the oil. According to Admon, when someone claims that he has owed jugs of oil, the claim is not only for the oil but also for the jugs. Therefore, the admission regarding the jugs was for part of the claim, and an oath is required. But the sages say, this admission is not for the same type of goods as the claim, because according to the sages, the claimant was demanding only the contents of the 10 jugs, the oil, and did not mean to claim the jugs themselves. In the opinion of the sages, we assume that the claimant mentioned 10 jugs of oil only to indicate the amount of oil, and not because he was also asking for the actual jugs. Since the defendant does not admit to owing any part of the goods that were claimed, he does not have to take an oath, again according to the Chachamim. Amar Rabban Gamliel said, I see the words of Admon as being correct. And the Rav does tell us, V'alecha ki Admon, the Halacha follows the opinion of Admon. That is in the Rabotai of Mishnah Daled. Mishnah Hey cites Admon's third ruling. Haposek maod lachatano, if one pledged money as a dowry to his future son-in-law, and relying on that pledge, his son-in-law betrothed the bride, pashatno et haregel, and then the father-in-law extended his foot to his son-in-law, meaning that he refused to pay. The father-in-law pointed to his foot and said, "You can hang me by my foot, but it will not make any difference because I have nothing to give you." Teshev achi al bin rosha. The son-in-law may let the bride sit in her betrothed state until she grows old and the hair of her head turns white. Until he receives the money he was promised, we do not force him either to marry her, to complete the marriage to Nisuin, or to divorce her. Under normal circumstances, a groom may not delay performing the Nisuin beyond the prescribed time, like we learned about earlier in chapter 5, Mishnah 2. In this situation, however, the groom is allowed to postpone it until her father gives him the money that he promised, since he betrothed the bride on the understanding that he would receive the dowry. We do not force him to divorce her either, so she can marry someone else. Therefore, she stays in her betrothed status until, like the Mishnah says, her hair turns white. Admon says, she can tell the groom, if I had promised you the money myself and refused to pay, I would deserve to sit in my betrothed status until the hair of my head turns white, or until I honor my promise. But now that my father was the one who made the promise for me, what can I do? Since it's not my fault that my father broke his promise, it's not fair for you to prevent me from getting married. So either marry me without the money or release me with a get so I can marry someone else. Amar Rabban Gamliel said, Admon, I see the words of Admon as being correct. And the Rav does tell us, V'alecha ki Admon, the Halacha follows the opinion of Admon. And that is an Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen v'Amen.